Okay, so fingers crossed that the audio on the laptop works, but minimize that. Don't need it. There we go. Okay. Right, so zoom behind itself. Okay, so going to talk about coursing orders and how they work and how we can use and things like that for this. There is going to be a bit of a practical demonstration of this as well, so we are going to ring the bells a couple of times at least. I'll probably have a few goes at some of the things I want to talk about because some of the people are going to be affected by the calls, and so it won't be so obvious for them to see what's going on. So we'll move people around the band so you get a chance of being one of the other affected girls and watch what's happening, as opposed to actually taking part, which is only a finite number of us. Okay, so that's not come up very easily to read, is it? Okay. Yes, but when I made this on my laptop, those dot points were white, not pink, whatever they are. So I'll read through it. Sorry about that. Right. So what are the coursing orders to start off with? So they are the order that you pass the bells. So initially we're taught when we learn to ring, we start playing the playing hunt, that we don't learn the numbers. But when conductors, there's one thing I got told initially by Jack, my teacher, said, when you learn playing hunt, don't learn the numbers. But when you conduct, you will learn the numbers. What? And yeah, so I mean from the very early stages that people actually do follow the numbers, not to keep yourself right, but to make sure that everyone else is right. So a very different mindset about how you think, why you follow the numbers. Okay. So yes, this session I hope to I'm going to cover what happens to coursing orders for playing and surprise methods. I'm not going to cover Granson, and I'm not going to cover stepping. Any ideas why? What do those things have in common that playing surprise methods don't? Correct. Bingo, yeah. Branson's got 2 hunt bells. Seven's principle has 0 hunt bells, so the whole concept doesn't quite work that well. So, if you want to know how to conduct Branson and keep an eye on the coursing order, I suggest having a chat with Andrew Davies when he's back. He does actually have a pretty good concept and things like that. Not quite on my pay grade, I'm afraid. Okay. So
I don't want to get lost right at the start. You said they don't have a. You said they don't have.
So they don't have what?
Like one. Yeah, they have 0. So that's like not 2. That's what the plan is. You just want 1.
Yeah.
Oh, Brandon was 2.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So this number at the top of the screen, 53246. Learn it. One must know this number. Traditional methods, traditional start, we're going to cover 90+% of your ringing. It all starts here. Okay. If you start with a snap, so you can start a snap in a surprise major method, which means typically it's when the treble's done its first dodge, you start with that change. The coursing order is going to be different. You can do it the dodge before the treble leads full. And it's going to be different again, especially when there's going to be a funny call to make the treble actually one of the actual method of treble, because normally it's actually whatever's going to become second space lower. There are weird things going on there. I'm not going to go into that just yet. I will touch on it briefly later on, but the main thing is just getting used to these traditional starts. Okay. So I mentioned 5 bells there, but I've mentioned the possibility of back bells, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12. Because those bells are usually fixed for callings, not traditional callings, which I'll probably mention in a second. So that if they're not mentioned, they're deemed to be in their normal place. So for surprise major, or any sort of major really, you still focus on 5, 3, 2, 4, 6, despite the fact the first bell that you pass is actually the 7. Because it's always going to be the 7. Then you focus on passing 3, 1, 2, and 4, and 2.
It's continuing over in the 8.
Okay, very good assumption. It's going to come that in a second as well, actually, because it's a bit hard to read. If you're ringing minor, then you don't really focus on the six if you're the six. You just focus on the 5, 3, 2, 4. For doubles, it does work for doubles, but it would be 3, 2, 4 if you're reading the 5, if there's no 6. But you could focus on, say if you're reading the 3, you could focus on 2, 4, 5, of course, in order, because it wraps around. I will send out these slides in an easy to read format as well. So yeah, sorry about the colours again. Like I said, and that laptop was fine, but I don't know why it's different again. Okay. What happens when there's a call in the coursing order? So when there's a bob, traditional bob, 3 bells do something. A bell runs in, bell runs out, and the bell makes noise. And the bells at the back are going to be unaffected. Okay, that's it. So what does that do to the coursing order? Well, if you've got the bells coursing in order A, B, C, the new order becomes B, C, A. The first one, A, becomes the last one. Okay? I'll have a few examples of this to get used to the concept. Okay? If it's a single, A, B, C becomes C, B, A. So your 2 on the other side swap their order. Bell B stays there, but bell B is actually the one that makes seconds. So if you think like a normal, let's say a plain bob minor, but normally a bell makes seconds at the lead end. If you call a single, that bell still makes seconds. Someone makes the bob, someone makes the first thirds. For the bob, ABC becomes BCA. Bell A makes the bob. So you can actually watch that happen if you want. So and same thing here. A single ABC becomes CBA. Bell A still ends up at the back because it still makes the bob. Bell B, I just told you, was unaffected, makes seconds. So Bell C must be doing the reverse third. So you can work it out if you want to get down to that nitty gritty. Okay. So, what does 3 bobs in the same position do? About 3 homes. I'll cover what the home is in a minute. So
Come around.
Yeah.
Come back to the original one.
exactly, yeah. So you rotate 3 times. ABC becomes CBA, becomes CAB, becomes ABC. You've just rotated 3 times around the trunk to work. So you get back to where you started. 2 singles, same thing. 2 bells swap over, 2 bells swap back. So you're back to where you started. So if they're at home, then yes, it will come round. But during a court appeal, it might just be a bit of hanging. Before I get to which bells are affected, does that sort of concept make sense? The rotation of the numbers. And I'm deliberately using letters now, so we don't actually think of the numbers. So because we are going to do numbers in a bit. But does that sort of make sense about how a bob rotates? No?
Yeah. Which surprising.
Good thing this is being recorded, so you can watch it 10 times until it does make sense.
I think the movement of the letters makes sense to me, but how you, what that has to do with actually reading.
We're going to come to that. Good. So, okay, yeah, so we'll that bodes well for what I've got lined up. Okay, so what does it actually mean for the course? So, some of you have heard terms like home, wrong, middle before. What are they? Okay, so a home is when the call makes the tenor end up at its end of course position, or where it starts. So, in plain bob minor, it is when the tenor is doing its 5/6 down dodge because its backstroke ends up in 6th place. Okay, that's when you that's your home position. Wrong is when it's doing 5/6 up because the backstroke ends up in 5th place, so n-1. Okay. For Cambridge Major, it's when it's 5th place bell and it's about to become 8th place bell anyway, so it does a dodge and it becomes 8th place bell the lead end. That's the home position. Okay. Bristol Major, it is different because the bobs at the back make the bells dodge. So a home is not when you're about to become 8th place bell, because if you call a bob then you actually dodge and become 7th place bell. You actually ring all of 8th place bell, then call a bob at the end, so that backstroke you become 8th place bell again because you repeat the lead in Bristol, and that is your home. So you need to be a bit careful to see if it's a 1-2 lead end or 1-8 lead end. 1-2 lead ends, it'll just be where you expect to be at the back. If it's a 1-8 lead end, then you're going to be doing a dodge, so you just got to be careful at the end of which lead. Beaver, another example where it's not at the end of the lead, it's like 3 leads later because of the way the method works out. So you got to do your homework beforehand to work out. Now, a lot of websites actually show you where the home positions are, and it could be at the end of the lead that you're going to become 6th place build, and then it's at home, not 6th place build, but as you dodge to become 8th place build, that's fine. Okay. So that's what the home is when you end up in your starting position. Wrong, like I said, it's in N-1. So instead of this table minor, instead of being you're going to become 5th place build, so it's 6 minus 1 is 5. Cambridge major, you become 7th place build, 8 minus 1 is 7, so you then become 7th place build, and so forth. Yeah, 9 for Royal, 11 for Maximus. The middle is N-2. Now, I'm not really going to cover that too much for minor because you're running out of space, because you're going to maybe making the bottom, it's 4th place build. There isn't really a middle for minor, but for major, it's when you become 6th place build. For Royal, 8th place spell, for Maximus, 10th place spell. Okay, so those are the standard positions and what they actually mean where you end up. Okay, does that sort of make sense? Home is N, wrong is N-1, middle is N-2. Okay. Before is when the bell runs out to become 3rd place spell. So in Bob minor, you were about to make second score. Bob, you run out 1/3 place spell, which means you look back and make seconds next season. For Cambridge major, it's at the end of 5th place spell. You were about to make seconds. Instead, when you're dodging the treble, you call Bob, you run out, you become 1st place spell, so forth. There are a few other calling positions, less common, but we are going to cover them briefly. In is when the bell runs in at the bottom. Guess why it's called that? Sometimes you hear somewhere where you make the bob, or it's fourths, sometimes indicated by the letter F in compositions. Again, we'll cover this in more detail. It's when you actually make the bob, regardless of whether it's a bob or a single. So it could be a single, but you still make the bob because you make fourths. Okay. 5th, 6th, etc. This is for high number stuff. It's when the tenor is in that actual position. So it becomes 5th place bell, becomes 6th place bell. On Maximus, you might even have 9th as a calling position. You can have some. Less likely, but it just means you end up in that position. I'm not going to be worrying about too much of that last one in this session. It's more about middles, wrongs, homes, and a few befores. Okay. We will cover this briefly a little bit later on. Okay. So where is the call? So with all that I've just explained, normally we talk about what's called near calls or 4th place calls. Someone makes the bottom 4ths. Okay. There are things called far calls, and I will briefly touch on them later on. But again, for 90% of what you're going to be doing, you don't have to worry about that. But I will cover that in a little more detail later on. But typically, we're going to be focusing on a near call, a 4th place spot. And so that means like the place notation is 1-4. The treble leads, someone makes 4th, the bells run in and out in between. And for single, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4 place notation. Treble leads, someone makes seconds, someone does the first thirds, someone makes the bottom 4ths. Okay.
Would far be something?
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Yes, and I'll cover that in a bit more detail later on. But yes, that's exactly what it is. Okay. Oh, this is.
If you quickly delete the back.
It might be easy to actually, yeah. Let me see if I can.
Even though it's useful, I know, to get rid of it.
See, look. Oh, hang on. Where's my mouse? Yeah. How about read this? Can you? I want to zoom the hide. So
Video.
There we go. And let's make it. Yeah, okay. Okay.
Oh,
Right, there we go. Okay, so. Starting off, like I said, 5, 3, 2, 4, 6.
quick question. I'm used to thinking of everything from the two. Could I be thinking of this as 2, 4, 6, 5, 3, or do I have to think of it like that?
You,
Or is it helpful because if I'm ringing the tenor to put something?
normally it's helpful to call it from the tenor because most compositions are marked from the tenor.
Yeah,
But you can transpose them if you want to, what's going on. The thing is that you're going to be moved around by the chords. Whereas with these chorded positions, the bell that you're ringing is unaffected, so it's one less thing to worry about.
Yeah.
You don't have to, you're not, caught up in the mix up. Now, some people actually do prefer recording it from there. And yeah, so you need to adjust it. And there is a scenario later on where I've got an example of where the tenor does get affected by it. And you can sort of see what happens, and it's a bit weird. So I'll explain it for me. But normally people try to call it from one of the unaffected bells. So I mean, for minor there is no 6, so it's just 5, 3, 2, 4. People usually call it from the 6. But for major you can ring the 7 or the 8. You don't have to turn the tenor if you don't want to. But it means you're not affected by the chords. If it's royal, you've got 4 bells to choose from around the back. So from the tenor, 5, 3, 2, 4, 6 is where we start. So if there's a chord wrong, it affects the first 3 bells, the 5, the 3, and the 2 from where we start. So if it's a bob there, 5, 3, 2 becomes 3, 2, 5. Okay, because the first that's bell A, this big jumps here, so it's 3, 2, 5, 4, 6. Okay. There's a chord at home, it affects the middle 3 bells, the 3, the 2, and the 4. So there's a bob there, then 3, 2, 4 becomes 2, 4, 3. Because you've done that rotation. If it's a middle, then it affects the back 3 bells. So in this example, the 2, the 4, and the 6. So 2, 4, 6 becomes 4, 6, 2. Okay. Now, here's the first example of when the tenor gets affected. Before moves the last bell, of course, in order to first. So the 6 ends up before. So we got 6, 5, 3, 2, 4. Because the tenor has actually moved, it's hunted out, the 7's hunted in, they're still coursing each other. The 6 has made the bob. So actually, if you actually wrote out the whole thing, you'd have to move the 6, the 7, the 8 around. But you always want to have your fixed bells, as they were, 7, the 8s, 7's first, 8's last. What actually happens from the coursing order is it turns out that the 6 ends up before these bells. So 5, 3, 2, 4, they didn't actually get affected by that chord. They're quite happily at the back, dodging whatever they're doing. But the 6 made the bob, and that's what happens from up 4. Yeah, Sam.
So just to clarify that latest point. So what you're saying is like 7 and 8 could appear before those in that order or in N or
Yep.
either side,
Mhm.
but you're only interested in those 5 because you kind of consider the 7 and 8 to be
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
less relevant.
Yeah.
So you just ignore them in the same way as you ignore treble.
Yeah.
So the treble will always, it doesn't affect the quarter. Is that right?
Yep. Again, later on, I do have an example where I actually show the 7 in the coursing order briefly, and then I'll go back. That's getting into more difficult calling. So I just want to get these again are the basics of what you need to know. A middle, a wrong, and a home, and a before is quite handy as well for major ringing. But yeah, so you just need to know that from the standard middle 5 coursing bells, that's these are what's going on. Yeah, question.
So in this, what we were just discussing, so 5, 3, 2, 4, 6 becomes 6, 5, 3, 2, 4. Right. So in major, you just said that the tenor has run out because that's before.
Yeah.
So what Sorry, so is the 7 running in?
Yeah.
Which bell is making the clock?
6. The bell that moves from the back to the
Oh,
front.
okay, yeah, all right.
And if you're calling things on 10 bells, you might see an in and fifth. Those are 2 separate calls. So the first one, the tenor runs in, the second one, the tenor ends up fifth place bell. Those 2 calls together have the same net result as a before and major. But because it's you got 4 bells at the back that need to be shunted around, these 4 bells, the 5 and 3, the 2 and the 4 who are unaffected basically, they need to be at the back. So it takes 2 calls to get to the same results that 1 call does in major. Yep.
What does 5, 3, 2, 4, 6 describe again?
It's the starting coursing order when you pass the bells. So
So from your perspective,
for your
as a conductor,
yes.
in the example, most examples you've given,
Yeah.
bringing 10.
yeah,
But maybe to go back to absolute basics, so it's the order in which the bells are like leading. So they're following each other, so I think maybe.
So,
what's the
I want-
basic
You won't see it that
causing-
way.
well,
So
no,
yes.
I mean, also can't confirm it's always going to be leading for Bob Minor, yes, but for more complicated methods like Bristol, no, the leading changes for points and come back down again, things like that.
So I guess, yeah, we just zoom out to absolute basics, like what actually. Like if I'm ringing a plain course or something, what is that?
Kind of like-
5, 3, 2, 4, 6, what am I actually seeing?
Good question.
Like,
The
no,
base
it's-
service.
Yeah, we're about to show that.
Oh, okay, in which case not.
Very good question. Okay. So I'm just going to quickly go through what happens to a coursing order in a touch, but then we're going to go into those, breaking it down a little bit. So, like I said, when we start ringing, the coursing order is 5, 3, 2, 4, 6. So if you're ringing the tenor to Bob major, you pass the 7, you pass the 5, you pass the 3, you pass the 2, you pass the 4, pass the 6, you leave. Okay. Starts off there. Then, if there's a bob at wrong, the front 3 bells rotate around. A, B, C becomes B, C, A. The 5 has moved to the back of that group of 3. Okay? That makes sense? Then there's a bob at home. So the middle 3 bells. So it was 2, 5, 4, now it becomes 5, 4, 2. Because A has moved to the back, B and C move forward, okay? Did we solve that? Yeah.
It makes sense as a mathematical exercise. I
Yeah.
can sit there and write it down with a piece of paper, but I remember that on the fly.
Right, I'll show you how to see it. That's wrong. So there's another call, wrong, so it was 3, 5, 4, now it becomes 4, 5, 4, 3. I like this coursing order. 5, 4, 3, 2. God, it's easy to remember. Things like that help, okay, if you find a coursing order. And the best thing is, when you're in this coursing order, all it takes is a high and we're back to where we started. 5, 3, 2, 4, 6. So really nice coursing order. 1, it's easy to remember. 2, bob at home, done. That's all. Let's go to Bob. So that's just a very simple touch that works for quite a lot of things. Wrong, home, and that's why, because you end up in the same position. It just shows you what's going on. This you can do for Bob Minor, you can do for Cambridge Major, you can do for Bristol Max. It all works in the same way. And they have the same coursing orders as well. It doesn't matter what method you're in, the coursing order is going to be the same. Yeah. So. Now, how do you see it? One of the questions that's come up repeatedly already. How on earth can you actually see what the hell is going on? Okay. I'll just jump down here and get the mouse. I'm just going to show the Zoom meeting. Yeah, it is. Awesome. Good. Right, let's focus on bell number 8. Okay. Okay, with the coursing order, you don't count the cherry because it changes lead and lead. Okay, it's not part of the coursing order. It is your signpost for what you've just done or what you're about to do with the method. Okay. So bell number 8 in rounds is over the 7. Go Bob major. It then passes over the 5, passes over the 3. Okay, you got the treble there, ignore it. Then the 2, the 4, the 6.
Just
And
slightly.
then, yes.
Yeah, that's right.
And then on the way up, you ring over the 7 after you've led, then the 5, then the 3, you pass the treble, the 2, the 4, and the 6. And you do your dodge, and it happens to be back over the 4 again because the 4 is also dodging. You line, 7, 5, skip the treble, 3, 2, 4, 6. 7, 5, 3, 2, you dodge with the 2, then you pass the 4 and the 6. 7, 5, 3, 2, 4, 6. 7, dodge with the 5. So what is 90 meter here, 7, 5, 3, 2, 4, 6. All the way through. It's always passing over those bells in that order until there's a bottom or single. But that's just how you start off, how you can actually see it. If it's the first time you do this, if you haven't been doing much of this before, do something simple like Bob Miner, Bob Manager, because then you've got the time to actually see the course in order, see what's happening. Okay. Does that sort of make sense?
That makes perfect sense. So what are the other bells following, or is that completely irrelevant to this exercise?
They're following,
Different variations.
yeah, so if you look at the treble does it too.
Yeah.
It goes 2, 4, 6, 8, 7, 5, 3 on the first series.
So they're all following them in that order, but.
Yeah,
So if it's in a ring, they go down to the ring.
exactly,
Okay.
yes. Okay. So. How can you see it actually change? Okay, so like I said, normally you start, always start 5, 4, 5, 3, 2, 4, 6. There's a call it wrong. You know this call it wrong because you're going to put it in. And the coursing order becomes 3, 2, 5, 4, 6. So the bells have changed to 3, 2, 5.
So
So-
when you say that, well, that's okay, so are you thinking? Are you just observing that that's what happens, or do you think, I know that's what happened? So do you have to remember that's what happened, and then know that you're right?
Yep. That.
All the above.
Yeah, you can do as much of this as fine. So these are all signposts for you. Some may work, some may not, okay? But if I'm calling definitely appeal, usually quarters as well. Simple touches tend not to unless I know the band's a bit shaky. Yeah, I follow the coursing order and I know that, okay, so it's currently 5, 3, 5, 3, 2, 4, 6. It's Tom's just got the bottom wrong. Okay, so it'll be 3, 2, 5, 4, 6. Okay. I just, yeah, I keep track of things because something does go wrong. It's like, oh, pass me now or do this or whatever. We'll come to that side of things later on. But there's a few things to help you work out. So you know what's going to come in advance because you're calling. So that you know that 5, 3, 2, 4, 6 is going to become 3, 2, 5, 4, 6. So, like I said,
So
bells.
you know that because you just know it, or because you sat down with this paper and worked it out and memorized it?
No.
I think it's the thing you said about ABCs with
Yeah.
verbs and singers, and I think that's the thing I guess it becomes automatic where so with ABC, B and C stay in the same order, but A moves to the end.
Yeah, so I have to sit there and say, okay, ABC becomes BCA, A is 5, B is C is 3, C is 2.
Yeah.
See, that to me, that's a lot of
And then A
steps.
becomes.
You probably need to write that out.
Yeah, I'm going to say the
Or-
first few times, yes, it is confusing as all hell. It
Right.
really is. And I've picked up well, a bad habit or not, but a habit from Matthew Sorrell who does this too. He mutters the court order to himself because he can't transpose it in his head. So,
There's no way I could do that.
yeah, Yeah, so yeah, and I sometimes do it, it's like, okay, 5, 3, 2, 4, 6, so it's like 5, 3, 2, so it's 3, 2, 5. So I might even go like 5, 3, 2, 5. So make the first one last, then it's like, okay, so it's 3, 2, 5. And if I'm, busy bringing a method as well, and trying to focus on that, then it's like, yeah, it just lurks up my mouth, because I'm like, I'm trying to do this while holding onto this line for dear life at the same time. So, yeah, so we do, later on, I do, as you say, write it out in advance. So you're not caught out by what's coming along, especially on the practice night.
And then you have to memorize.
Yeah, or you can just practice doing this in your head, but there are a few actually safety things as well, which I'm trying to come to in a second, but yes, fair you, of course.
Yes, so I think the other thing that would be useful to just run through, if we're thinking of the ABCs and stuff, So I just wrote out what you had on the previous slide, so about, you start off, then you do wrong, home, wrong, home. And I followed from, so the wrong, you go from A, B, C to B, C, A. So that's the 3, 2, 5, but then I'm a bit confused what the home does. Oh, that, hang on,
That's the middle
wait,
three.
that's the middle
Three.
three.
Just
Yes,
same
yes, okay, I can find that.
transition, it's just affecting three different.
Yes.
Right, okay, yeah. Got you.
Right. Okay, so getting back to the call here, so there's a call at wrong happening, it affects the front 3 bells. The coursing order, you know, is going to become 3, 2, 5. Because it's rotated from 5, 3, 2, it's going to become 2, 3, 5. Take a look. This is plain bob major. And at the end of the first sleeve, there's a bob at wrong. Look where the treble's leading at hand stroke. The bell order is 3, 2, 5. That's your new coursing order. It's staring you in the face of hand stroke. The first time I saw that, I went, what the, how, what? That's it. How did I not see that before? So you know which 3 bells to look for. You don't have to look through the whole 8 of bells that are ringing, or 12 if you're ringing max. You know that it's going to be the 3, the 2, and the 5, because it's the 5, 3, 2 is the coursing order beforehand. You know it's going to end up 1, 3, 2, 5 as the hand stroke, because the coursing order is going to be 3, 2, 5. So just take a look around while the treble's leading, and you can see it's going to be a 3, 2, 5. Then the backstroke, we know that 5 is making the bob because it's moved from first place to last place. So you can actually just watch the 2 and the 3 hunt in while you're dodging.
So it's 3, 2, 5, 4. Is the new course.
Yeah. So
Yes, so 3, 2, 5.
yeah. So after you've done your dodge, your line, you pass the 7, you pass the 3, don't count the treble, you pass the 2, then the 5, then the 4, then the 6. Same thing happens to minor. There is no 6 in this example necessarily. No, sorry, no 6 in this example. So the coursing order is 5, 3, 2, 4. A wrong still affects the first 3 bells. So it's it becomes 3, 2, 5, 4. Okay. Let's try. Let's set the bells down. Let's do it. So we're going to ring. We're going to back to the section. Yeah. So we're going to ring 1 lead and a bit of bob minor. And everyone's job is to, if you're not ringing the 3, the 2, or the 5, so we'll have a few goes at this, is to watch the coursing order change. So, like I said, you know that the order is going to become 3, 2, 5. That's what happens when there's a bob wrong. So, just going to ring a lead, call bob, and then I want people to actually watch the hand stroke to become 1, 3, 2, 5, and the back stroke 1, 2, 3, 5. Just watch those bells and see if you see it. And that will stand. Yes.
So just to clarify, a hand stroke before the line, that's the old coursing order, and a backstroke after the line, that's the new coursing order?
Yes. Cool. Because that's the call takes effect between that hand stroke and the back stroke.
Where the lines.
Yeah.
But I think the answer to the question is no, it's the.
No, because that's the new one there, isn't it?
Oh, no, that's what's going to become. It's going to become 1, 3, 2. The bob hasn't actually happened at that that road, but I'm saying that you'll see the new coursing order as if by magic from observing that 1 hand stroke.
So, sorry,
Okay.
So that's the new coursing order, but
this
then
is the, which is the new course?
Just focus on the front 3 bells. So you've got the
3, 2,
treble,
5.
and it's 3, 2, 5. They're the bells affected.
When do
Don't
we-
worry about the strings at the back. Don't worry about the bells at the back.
So
Just
what-
focus-
But I don't see that until like 4 blows later. 3,
Exactly.
2,
But I'm what, so you see it twice. You see it once as the actual row itself,
Yes.
1, 3, 2, 5.
Yes.
Then the bells at the back.
Yes.
Then later on, you'll cast them in that order. This exercise now, we're breaking into 2 steps. I want you to see then you, I want to see that it's going to be 1, 3, 2, 5 at the hand stroke. Okay, that's the focus of this.
Yeah.
So can I get some people to catch hold, please? On the,
I don't understand why
that's the
that's the
six.
new forcing order if the bob hasn't taken effect.
It just
Understood.
happens that that's
Oh,
what it
just
is.
happens.
We will do this a
Sorry.
number of times because some people are going to be ringing and obviously you won't see it. So if you're ringing, we'll sort of move the bands around. 4 and 6 will be unaffected at the pull. So you know that you'll be dodging with each other at the back between the 5 and 6 dodge. So you try and see if you can see, because you know it's going to be the 3, the 2 and the final affected by this. See if you can see at the hand stroke with the trebles leading. That's what the order of the bells are. Okay. 2. Going. Ready for one. Oh. Stand.